Hello everyone, this is Mr. Informal bringing you another rant. Seems like I've been doing a lot of rants lately, but it is justifiable. So let's talk about the Motorola Z Force 2. So just so you know, quick background, Motorola was bought by Lenovo from Google. And so Lenovo basically controls Motorola, but it seems like Motorola is working independently from Lenovo. But who knows? I would not be surprised if they weren't working independently. So the Motorola Z Force 2 is out. You can pre-order them depending on your carrier. You can also buy them right now. And it is around $700 to $800 depending on your carrier or depending where you live. So why am I making this rant? Well, many things. Okay, the Moto Z Force 2, let's start out with a big one. They made it thinner, but they sacrificed the battery life or the battery capacity. So, comparing to the Moto Z Force, the first one, it originally had 3500 milliamps. That's 3500. The Moto Z Force 2, 2730 milliamps. That's 2730. So we're looking at about 800 milliamps difference here, which is a lot. Now if it was only 200 milliamps, I'll let it slip, but you know what, that's a big huge difference here. And I've seen all the reviews prior to making this rant. Okay, I've seen all of reviews, and all of the reviews, test, benchmark, all confirm that the battery life on the Moto Z Force 2 is terrible compared to the predecessor and compared to other smartphones in its class, in its price range. So number two, well, they made it thinner. That means that now you gotta buy Moto mods. So that is an additional dollars and amount that you gotta pay for the item, because it seems like Motorola is betting its customer to buy more Moto mods. Thankfully, you can use the Moto mods that you use, well, if you ever bought one, to the Moto Z Force 2. So they basically reduce the batteries so that way they think you as consumer will buy the Moto mods. Number three, they did not add any Moto mods back plate compared to the Moto Z Force, the original, when you buy it. So I don't understand why you're keeping the price the same. I'll talk about more about the price later, okay? That's number four, I think. So number four, they sacrifice the screen. Well, I shouldn't say the screen. I'd say the display panel, or the Moto Z Force 2 has a shatter shield glass, front glass. So when you drop it, it won't shatter. But for a compromise, it is actually more scratch prone. It will scratch easily because it is made of plastic, not glass. That's a big trade-off. Now, to prevent a screen from shattering, well, you just got to be careful with your phone. Don't drop it. That's it. Now, I'm sure that there are many people out there that will buy a screen protector, which is good. But again, that's an additional amount of money for you to be spending on if you are marketing the screen on the Moto Z Force 2 to be shatter proof or shatter, or you call it shatter shield. Why are you compromising its scratch features? Why is it more scratch prone now? I really don't get it. Now another thing is that the Moto Z Force, the original, okay, it had 21 megapixel f1.8 laser and phase detection autofocus optical image stabilization. The camera on the Z Force 2, dual 12 megapixel f2.0 laser and phase detection autofocus dual LED. Now, did you hear that? Were you listening? Did you miss something? Yes, it is missing optical image stabilization on both lenses on the rear cameras. I'm reading this off on gsmarena.com. They have one of the best specs layout compared to other websites out there. And I cannot believe that this flagship of a phone doesn't have OIS. It reminds me of the OnePlus. Heck, my LG G5 have OIS. One of them have OIS, but it doesn't matter. At least it has OIS. But this phone doesn't. So you can't tell me that, oh, it has electronic image stabilization. No, that's not as good as optical image stabilization. So going down the list again, this one doesn't have a 3.0mm headphone jack or an audio jack, whatever you want to call it. I know the other one, I know the Z Force, original Z Force, this doesn't. But the Motorola Z2 Play has an audio or a 3.5mm jack, and it is actually much cheaper. So again, why are you spending more and getting less? I'm sure there are Motorola fans out there and they will defend this phone, or they will buy this phone just to be different. But again, to me, it's a waste of money. That's why I'm making this rant. Okay. The camera on the back, it has a hump. It's a big, huge hump compared to the Z Force, original Z Force, because they made the back much more thinner. Again, I really don't understand why they needed to do that. To me, it doesn't need to, because if it's gonna same layout or the same look, then keep it. Why fix when it's not broken? But you know, there has to be somebody that has to make phones thinner than other phones out there. Okay, so last thing is the price. Okay, so depending where you live, it could range from $700 to $800. Heck, you know what, I'll be nice, let's make it $650. So it's going against what, the G5, which is priced lower now. We're looking at the S8, obviously the iPhone 7. Looking at, well, let's not look at the OnePlus, because the OnePlus is actually priced around priced lower. So it's looking at those three competitors out there, right? And you can't honestly tell me that you can defend this phone, because I'm seeing way too much negatives. Okay, now if you like the mods and if you have the mods, okay, fine, I will give you that. But if you do not have the mods, you cannot defend, or you cannot tell me you're gonna buy this phone, because no OIS on the rear cameras, and it has no headphone jack, and the worst part is the Z2 Play has a headphone jack. It has a major amount reduced on the battery capacity. Again, Z Force original 3500, this newer one 2730. Again, you cannot absolutely tell me that you can defend this phone. And then obviously the mods, they expect you to buy the mods because of that. And last thing is the shatter shield. It's not scratch resistant, even though it is shatter resistant when you drop it. But I would rather have a scratch resistant phone, because for me the scenario of me dropping my phone is less to happen than me putting my phone onto my pockets and knowing that it might get scratched. This phone, the Z Force 2, has a higher chance of getting scratched than being dropped, and that's a trade-off that I'm not willing to accept. So who is this phone for? Honestly, I'm thinking people who want to be unique, people who bought the Z Force and they still kept the Moto mods, the people who just Motorola fans. Other than that, I really don't see who's buying this phone. Now, if this goes down the price of maybe $400, hey, go ahead and buy it. I'd accept that. but there are just too many disadvantages that this phone have, and this is what drives me crazy. I really don't know the meeting that Motorola or Lenovo had when they were creating this phone and developing this phone. I really don't. So the marketing was probably thinking, okay, let's reduce it, and let's reduce the battery so we can have or consumers buy our Moto mods. Oh, that's a good idea. Making profit gains, we're making a lot of profits through our Moto mods, and not only that, we're developing Moto mods. Okay, the next thing is that, let's make Q cameras, but you know what, we don't need OIS, we have EIS. And I'm like, oh, that's another good idea. That's the price of the camera is going to be cheaper because there's no OIS. Oh, let's make a shadow shield, but you know what? We're gonna sacrifice scratch features. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. Knowing that the phone spends most of its time on your pocket, on the bag, or your handbags, whatever. And they expect people to buy a screen protector. So again, they're banking on the consumers to buy more to spend more money on the phone. The worst part about this phone is the price. $700 to $800, and you're telling me that you are willing to accept this many compromises? I cannot believe if you are willing to do that. I really don't. I mean, there are people out there who buy phone, who save up a lot of money on their phone, and they're willing to keep it 1 to 2 years, 2 years, or 3 years. And you're telling me that you are willing to defend this phone, or willing to defend the company that is Motorola? That is not acceptable. And the fact that they can make the Z2 Play have a headphone jack and the Z2 Force doesn't, that's again unacceptable. And so look, I know this is a rant. You can say I'm complaining, I'm ranting, whatever. But the fact is that I really don't see anybody who's buying the phone other than you just being different or unique, or you have the Moto mods. And so there's Mr. Informal, basically giving you my rant on the Z2 Force. Should you buy it? I cannot recommend this phone. Should you buy it? If you have the option of the S8, the 7, the G5, I'd say no. And so I will see you in another rant. Bye bye.